Okay, thank you for joining us and welcome to Better Together Live, where we create helpful community resources, connections when it matters most. I am Yamile Bowman, your host and the Community Relations Coordinator here at Therapy Work. Today, I am very happy to be joined by Moira Sullivan from Whole Kids Therapy. Hi, Moira. Thank you. We started Better Together Live to highlight local resources like Whole Kids Therapy to offer expanded access to support to our local community. So I really thank you. Thanks for your time today, even if we had some tech problems. Thank you.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. But before I start with all these questions, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a pediatric occupational therapist. I have been one for 21 years. Prior to that, I was in advertising sales of all things.
Oh, look at that.
I figured out that's not what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I started going to school, and I love what I do now. I also teach at San Jose State. I'm the teacher for the Pediatric Occupational Therapy Clinic, which has been very interesting because it's all virtual.
You are doing all virtual, right? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. But yeah, and I love seeing kids just start to bloom.
That's awesome. That is awesome. So you start talking about your pediatric occupational therapist. Can you tell us what is Whole Kids Therapy, your company? What does it do?
Well, we wanted to use the term whole kids because it's very easy to see people in general and children in particular as, bits and pieces. Mm-hmm. But that's not who they are. So what we do is partner with families, and we are looking to improve the sensory processing and motor coordination for children of all ages. And but in addition, we really want to focus on the interpersonal relationships, especially between them and their family.
And their families.
So families are always welcome to be in sessions. They're never required to, but we're always welcome. We don't believe in having people be shut out into the waiting room while we work our magic. It's not magic, it's neurology. It's making connections in the brain through meaningful activity. And our task is to come up with activities that are meaningful to the child so that they will then do them. And it's not me saying, do this, that, and the other. So if we build on their own internal motivation, which all children have, we get a lot farther, a lot faster. And frankly, it works with adults as well.
That's great. That's great. And what does the pediatric occupational therapist focus on, and what are the ages of your clients right now?
Well, the youngest child I've ever worked with was 3 months old. That was incredible.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that. That's crazy.
I love it. And then the oldest we've ever worked with is 14. And by the time you're 14, you're pretty much, you really have to have a lot of buy-in to make changes in your own life, because you're practically an adult. And you may think you already are, but I would disagree with that. But we work with all different ages. And what we do is we look at the underlying sensory processing and motor coordination issues that get in the way of children being able to do what they do. And you need to look at both aspects, but you also need to keep in mind, like I said, how it impacts the relationships with other people, because that is the most telling aspect of development. And the better your relationships with others in your life, the happier you are, and the
absolutely
health is.
Yeah. Do you work with kids or young, teenagers? I say you say 14, that they may have gotten into an accident and they had to come back and start doing everything again? Do you work with kids like that? Have you ever had times like that? Okay.
I have done that before. I have worked with adults as well.
You have.
I love working with adults, but big people are heavy and it's hard for me to lift them. I'm 5'3". So most of the kids we see have motor coordination issues. And these are the kids that used to be described as being clumsy, forgetful, awkward, geeky, and I can relate to all those things. But they're just having trouble coordinating their bodies and feeling where they are in space, tracking visually, using both hands together to do things like catch a balloon, walking without falling down, running with good coordination. just understanding what their body and the world is telling them.
Right. And that's where you come with gaming, with like tools and toys and everything. That's incredible. It takes a lot of time and patience. Yeah.
It's easy to be patient for an hour at a time. Yes. I give a lot of credit to all these parents because they're patient all the time.
Right?
It's easy to be patient for an hour. I got that down.
Good. Well, thank you for doing this. This is great. I mean, I'm sure all those parents are so grateful for you. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, it's wonderful partnering with them. And, you know, the one of the things I've noticed over the past, I'd say about 10, 15 years is that our expectations for what children should be doing are not always in line with reality.
Reality, yeah.
I don't care if a 3-year-old can write her name. I honestly do not care. And I teach handwriting, but not to someone who's very tiny. You've got to have the foundation skills first, and then the academic learning and all this comes later. Mm-hmm. We use play, and play is essential for children. And a lot of times people say that, but they don't say why. And in a nutshell, the reason why is because if you have pretend play, you have symbolic reasoning. If you have symbolic reasoning, now you can have academic learning. Without symbolic reasoning, you're just memorizing, which, and believe me, memorizing is a good thing. You need to remember. But if all you have is memorization without an understanding, the minute you take the test, you're going to forget all of it. So is it useful? And the answer is no. I can read Spanish to a point, but my understanding of it is so poor that I could be saying rude things about someone's grandmother and not realize it.
Not realize.
Is it useful? No. If I don't have the understanding of the why and the bigger connection to others in my life and the world itself, it's not very useful.
True.
And you get that through pretend play. So if someone tells you play is important, in a nutshell, that's why.
And you know, I hear so many times, I mean, in the past, I still hear that it's so important that a kid has to learn how to play.
Yeah.
And even though sometimes we think, that's kind of ridiculous, you just go and play. I don't think it's that easy. You have to kind of learn how to play, right?
Yes. And I gave my students the assignment of going out to see children in the wild, right? So they were to go to a park and just kind of observe what children do when they're left to their own devices, or go to the beach or something like this. And they were a bit surprised that my husband and I were at the beach several months ago, almost a year now.
Right.
And I remember just watching these little kids, but they looked like they were between 2 to 5 years old. And they were chasing seagulls, running around screaming, getting wet, throwing sand at each other and getting mad, digging in sand, and repeat.
Yeah.
And we were there for 2.5 hours. And they were there when we got there, and they were there when we left, doing the same exact thing.
And they were happy.
They were happy. And we put time limitations on activities sometimes. Sometimes we have to. Because, no, you can't start a new activity at 10 o'clock at night. You should have been in bed 3 hours ago, okay?
Right.
But when left to their own devices, children will do things over and over and over and over, and that is normal.
So you said that's normal, but I guess the question is, I know as a parent, right, sometimes we, like you said, we want to stop that. When you stop too much that, do you think when they're like older, there's something changes in them, the way they interact with people or with the way they play? Do you think, I'm not trying to say, are we hurting our kids? I'm saying is, should we be a little bit more like flexible and let them be a little more wild?
Well, I think that it's really important for children to be able to learn how to assess risk. And
I 100% agree with it.
Yes, and it's hard for us to, because I know what can happen, because my parents kicked us out of the house in the morning and locked the door until we
come here for dinner.
Yeah, come in for dinner. Well, let street lights come on, come inside. And I don't advocate that, but what happens when we let children, especially very young children, take small calculated risks and learn to judge what is safe and what is not for themselves. I mean, we're there to mediate it. We are not going to just give a child a fork and say, here, stick it in your eye.
Right. Yeah.
What we're doing is we're letting them take small calculated risks, knowing that we are there to mitigate and not let something really, truly bad happen. But is it okay to get muddy? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay to run around throwing leaves up in the air? Yeah. Is it okay to take sticks and poke things to try to find bugs? Of course it is. So when possible, it's not always possible because frankly, sometimes you just got to get out the door and
Right. Yeah.
pick up groceries and you need to do the things you need to do. But when possible, letting them engage in child-directed play is hugely important. I mean,
agree.
seriously, my parents almost never knew where we were.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Necessarily advocate that, but allowing them to assess risk for themselves means that they're going to have that skill going forward. It also sends the message that I trust your judgment to a point because, hello, you're 5.
Of course. Yeah.
But I trust that you will take care of yourself. And I believe that you have the ability to make informed decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. My parents would say, go get it street smart. That was their thing. We were like, what?
What does that mean? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. What does it mean? Go get street smart. First, the rest will come.
Yeah. It's this beautiful video I saw recently of a forest kindergarten that was on the Good Morning America a few days ago. I think it was Good Morning America. And it's a kindergarten that is literally in the forest. And it's in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
They have their snowsuits. They're sliding down muddy hills, getting completely filthy.
We need stuff like that here.
We do. We're in Northern California. There's no reason we cannot be outside every single day. Mm-hmm. My husband's from Toronto. I mean, if you want to talk about cold.
Yeah. I have family there. It's cold in the winter.
Yeah, we don't have cold here.
No.
And kids go out and play outside.
Yeah.
And because they have the clothing for it.
That's right. Yeah, we got to work in that. We'll see. We'll see. How is, Moira, how is your approach to therapy? When you get a new client, how is your approach to therapy?
Well, the very first thing we do is find out what are the parents' priorities. We oftentimes do an evaluation, but we don't have to. If they have a recent evaluation that they've just done and is still valid, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can go on as long as that the information is still valid. And we, like I said, we always invite parents to be in with us. Mm-hmm. But I want to address the family's priorities. And if that means, with the caveat that if a parent really desperately wants a 2-year-old to be able to write her name, we're just going to talk about that. And we're going to work on the foundations building up to that later skill, which honestly, if you're under 5 years old, I honestly don't care.
Do you see that a lot? Because I know a lot of families in the area we live is very academic oriented.
Yes.
So I know they expect that their kid is going to be writing and probably understanding very simple words, reading at that age. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, we look at what goes into reading and writing. Letters and numbers are very important, but they're only important because they allow us to understand ourselves, each other, and the world. That is why they're important. So because I'm an old person, I know shorthand, which is out of the dark ages. So I always write a little sentence saying, can anyone else read this? And of course, no one can. So is it relevant and meaningful? I understand the desire to have my child look at letters and be able to think. I get that. But what I really want to know is how I want you not just be able to memorize and make a vocalization in response to a visual cue, which is what reading is. I want you to understand what it means. I want you to know how to think and reason and come to logical conclusions at your age level. Kids used to learn how to read and write when they started. Well, you learned how to write in first grade. They used to learn how to read in first grade. They used to learn the letters and numbers in kindergarten. It is not, it's very nice when kids can do it early, but it doesn't mean they're going to be smarter, and it most certainly does not mean that their lives are going to be any better.
That's right.
I want them to have good, fulfilling relationships in their lives. Frankly, it's far more important for children to learn how to read other people than how to read out of a book.
Emotional intelligence.
Absolutely. And because I literally have children, they do not understand the difference between, hey, I like your shirt, and hey, I like your shirt.
That's important. They need to
get that. Yeah. Because of this, they are extremely vulnerable. And that's the problem. So one of the things we emphasize here is relationship building.
I love that. I
You're
love
gonna
that.
build a relationship with us. You're going to strengthen your relationship with your family. And quite honestly, it doesn't mean you're always going to be happy with me.
Yeah, well, it is the way it is, right? Sometimes people like it, sometimes people don't, but we're still going to work together.
And I'm one of 5 kids, and I'm in the middle. So, hey, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I dished it out and I took it.
That's right. Love that. Yay.
But you've got to be able to read other children, other adults, and assess where they're coming from, and do so quickly and accurately. And that is a huge focus on what we do, because if I can't do that, I more than likely will be taken advantage of more than I should.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't want to see that happen.
You don't want to see that. Absolutely.
And we tell kids that everyone's their friend, and I'm sorry, but that's not true.
Yeah. And that's why they need to learn how to read the body language, right?
Yes, because
yeah.
It's not the same as a smile.
Yeah. Totally.
Same muscles. Different meaning.
Very different meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talk about you integrate the family a lot in all the therapy. And I asked you this in the past, but do you teach the family to take all the knowledge home and work? Because I don't know, a kid is with you how many times a week?
Usually once a week, maybe twice for an hour. So yes, I absolutely want to do things that the family is comfortable implementing at home. And I also tell families, if you feel like buying something, let me know, because we usually have it. And then you can see if it's worth your time and money.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah.
The word therapy or the word sensory in front of anything is like putting the word wedding in front of something. It's a cake or it's a wedding cake. Guess which costs 10 times as much? And there's no reason for that. So if I recommend you get, some piece of equipment and your child hates it, what's the point? You just spent all this money and we've got this thing taking up room and your child doesn't want to go near it. So I'm not going to do that.
That's nice.
It has to work for your family in your home.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, don't do it.
Yeah, no, totally. And I know there's a lot of equipment I've seen before, and obviously that can be extremely expensive.
Oh boy, can it ever.
Yes.
Yes. And like this structure behind me,
yeah,
this one, that's a good $5,000 right there. You don't need it. This gives good vestibular input. You can get it in other ways as well.
And I'm sure you also help them to be creative at home. I mean, with the stuff we already have at home, they can do something with it, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when this pandemic hit, we went all virtual, obviously. Mm-hmm. And so the very first thing we did is we got a home inventory of all kinds of things that families already have.
There you go. Yeah.
So we build activities around those. Some children we're still seeing virtually, although we are seeing kids in person as well, because frankly, Zoom for someone under 5 is just not working.
It doesn't work. No.
But if you have straws, you have paper, you have pencils, you have aluminum foil, do you have disposable cups or lightweight cups? Do you have balls? What kind do you have? What board games do you have? You have a deck of cards. You have Uno. You've got a whole treatment plan right there.
Oh, God. I wish you can see my garage. Well, my garage is getting better now because my kids are teenagers. Now it's all workout equipment. But I'm trying to get rid of all the things that I've been saving for years. But, yeah, we have a lot of stuff that half of the stuff is probably we don't need anymore. But we probably, yeah, we know. Moira, can you describe what is sensory integration and how does it work?
Well, basically, this is a difficult concept because it is so foundational to who people are. So basically, it's what your information is from your auditory, vestibular, which is where's my hidden space? Is it up, down, sideways? Where am I? Proprioception, which is what's my body position? You don't have to look at your feet to know where they are.
Where you're,
you can feel it. Vision, hearing, touch, proprioception, vestibular. But it's also the part of the brain, the midbrain, that syncs everything up together. Mm-hmm. And UCSF did 3 studies, which I absolutely adore, because they were trying to see if sensory processing disorder is a standalone. And they found out it is. I mean, they used MRIs to measure what was happening in the brain in real time. And they found out that there's a disconnect between those systems. Touch, hearing, vision, proprioception, vestibular, and the midbrain, they're all in there and they're all working, but they're not speaking to each other as clearly as they need to. And it's different than autism. I was
going to ask you that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. It looks very similar, but it's different. And they used MRIs to measure what was happening in the brain, and they found the disconnect every single time. So then they did a bigger study and included girls because we're half the world. And they added children with autism in as well. And what they found is, again, 100% correlation using MRIs. And what they found was that in the kids with autism, the part of the brain that recognizes and understands facial expression and body language was also not as well connected as it needs to be. And the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive functioning centers, which makes sense of everything, was in there and working, but not as well connected as it connected. And again, on 100% correlation. And they did a bigger study with a wider age range, again, 100% of the time. And what they found, which was a surprise to me, was that the kids with sensory processing disorder often look more scattered and less organized than the kids with autism.
They do.
I was not expecting.
I know, because you will always think that is the kids with autism, that they are more,
And that was not the case. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So now I want them to hurry up and do more studies.
Do more studies, right?
Because what ends up happening is this is seen as a behavior problem a lot. So a child who needs a lot more sensory input to really register what's going on is going to be like, running around like crazy all the time and driving us all nuts. Mm-hmm. We look at what they gravitate toward, because we tend to gravitate toward things that help us organize our brain and body. So we look at what they're doing and make it more intense. So if they like to jump a lot, we get them on not just jumping on the floor, but on the trampoline.
Right.
From the trampoline onto this huge beanbag we have here.
Right.
I adore. And but we want it more intense. We want them climbing more. We want them jumping more. Whatever they gravitate toward, up the intensity.
Okay.
Because we don't have the luxury of duration, so we need to up the intensity.
The intensity. Okay. That's interesting.
And then there's also the kids who are very, very overly aware of what's going on around them and very sensitive to it. And they tend to freak out very easily. And then we see that as a behavior when it's really just a reaction to, world, this is too much. This is too much. You need to back off. And unfortunately, and I'm bad at it as well, we grown-ups usually do not back off very well.
Mm-hmm. We keep getting into it. And I guess it's going to get us sometime in our lives, right?
Yes.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's really difficult when you're a little tiny one, 3 or 4 or 5 years old, to tell the adults in your life they need to back off.
You can. Yeah. Yeah. I actually heard some kids, they have some sensitivity with clothing.
Oh, yeah.
Is that something you see a lot? Like,
yes.
It has to be certain material.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friend's daughter, actually, she's having a little bit of issues with that. And
I see that a lot. And it can be tough to explain to someone else if you're a child. It was, the skin is the largest organ in your body. It also tells you what is safe and what is not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can feel a mosquito crawling on your skin, and you should. But when you're on high all the time, that makes it much more difficult.
Oh,
it's hard to explain. We have to all remember, and I tell myself this daily, this is not a prefrontal cortex issue. This is a brainstem level phenomenon. This is not logical. There's no logic. Let go of it. Just accept it for what it is.
Correct. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. It was crazy. It's true. Like you were saying, she couldn't explain. She just, can you cut the tags? I don't want to feel it. Or like it's too rough, or it's too short, or it was crazy. But yeah, she couldn't explain.
I can give you some tips.
Please, I will definitely send you send her your information for sure. I saw on your website, you have the DEAR, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, DIR floor time approach. Can you talk a little bit about that?
This is an approach I really like. It came out of Doctors Stanley Greenspan and Serena Wieder. He was a developmental behavioral pediatrician who unfortunately passed away a few years ago. And she is a psychologist. I believe she's based in Southern California, but it's COVID, so who knows what's happening. But what it looks like, it's development. So what typical development actually is, where children should be, not where we want them to be, where they should be. Individual differences. So we all have our own little ways of doing things and ways of experiencing the world. But it emphasizes also relationships. So rather than me as the adult being the one to always impose my idea, I'm going to set up an environment where everything in this room is something I want you to play with. And if there's anything for whatever reason I do not want you to play with, it's not here. You can wander around and explore, because everything in here, and yes, we do have child safety locks because I know these guys, but it's set up to be conducive to you exploring and learning.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. And by observation, that's when you can tell where are their strengths, I guess, your clients, right?
Well, you think about it too. I mean, if you want me to do something that is difficult for me and I don't like it and I don't see the point, good luck. I'm an adult.
Yeah.
But we do that with children all the time, and I'm not sure why. And it's not that they get to just do whatever they want to at random. No, there's a meaning and a purpose behind every single thing in here. But if I want you to do something that is difficult, like for example, for a little one who just started walking, and he needs to work on his coordination quite a bit. He was 18 months and he wasn't walking yet. So yeah, that's why we knew him. And he wants to get at the bubbles because we have these wands, so we can just wave them around and bubbles come out.
Oh yeah.
Ever. So he wants to pop the bubbles. Great. He has to climb over this yogi bow to get them. Big bag. So he kind of looks at us like,
really? Are you going to make me do that?
And the answer is yes, darling, we are.
He's thinking about that.
And so we've given him a reason to do something difficult, and he's getting better and better. He's walking now, and he looks really good. So he is building his skills by doing something that has meaning to him. Because when I go away, I want him to keep doing it because he enjoys it, and he sees the point.
That's his reward, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, of course you can pop the bubbles. Come get them.
Come and get it.
There you go. Or you can go through the tunnel. That works too. One or the other, your choice.
Nice.
Over here.
I love all that. I really do. Is there anything else you would like to add to this incredible interview, Moira? I'm really enjoying this. Is there anything else you would like to share with us?
I'm having a great time too. Thank you so much for having me on. I think that what we need to do, we need to be kind to parents. We need to be kinder to parents. I honestly do not know how they are working and their kids are on Zoom and they're running around and they're keeping it together. Wow.
I know. We
have got to be kinder to parents and understand that just because a child does something faster doesn't mean it's better. People are who they are, and there's a very, very wide range of normal. So let's celebrate who you are. I mean, I've known kids that I come back and see when they're teenagers now, which just blows my mind. And they're doing beautifully, because when you learn to overcome challenges at a young age, there's almost nothing that can stop you.
That's right.
And the parents are doing a wonderful job. I'm not a huge fan of social media unless it's to say, I've been there.
Yeah.
I saw a little 2-year-old having a massive hissy fit in the grocery store the other day, and her poor mom was just like, oh no. I said, honey, we've all been there.
Yeah.
Said, thank you. I said, no, we all have. Trust me.
Yeah.
Said, well, she's what, 2? Yeah, that's what 2-year-olds do. So
yeah, she doesn't know. She just wants to scream and she wants to cry because she's hungry. She wants something and she doesn't know how to say it.
Exactly. Right? I can relate to that.
Yeah. Oh God, yes, for sure. Yeah.
But let's support each other, and because parents are doing a wonderful job, and I honestly, I applaud you all.
You know what? And thank you, Moira, for reminding us that, because we usually forget. that a lot of those parents, we parents are doing our best, and we need to be a little bit kinder with them, with us, with ourselves.
Exactly. And you are not responsible for what your child does.
Yeah, true.
They at some point they decide.
Yeah, correct. So please, now you have to share how people can reach you. Can you share your information with us?
Yes, absolutely. Whole Kids Therapy is at wholekids.therapy.com. And our phone number is 408-280-7712. And we are about a block away from O'Connor Hospital. We're on Claremore Way, which is near the Rose Garden.
You have one location, 2 locations? Right
we
now.
have one physical spot. We have 2 suites. We have one downstairs and the one upstairs, which is why you heard little feet before.
Yes, I did. Thank you. And for us, just our philosophy here in therapy work is very simple. We are better together. Everything we do, Moira, is in support of our community. And, I really appreciate your time here today. And if you want to learn more about us, go to mytherapyworks.com. And for today, this is it. And I really appreciate your time. And I wish you have a wonderful week. And I'm here if you need me anytime.
Thank you so much, and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you so much. You take care.